You know, if you run a small business, it can feel like you're constantly fighting for every customer in your own backyard. But what if I told you your biggest opportunity isn't even in the same country? That's what we're talking about today, the huge, often overlooked world of exporting.
Seriously, think about that for a second. What if your next customer is thousands of miles away? It's not so crazy when you remember that, well, most of the people in the world don't live where you live. For pretty much any business out there, that means the global market is just way, way bigger than your home turf.
And listen, this isn't just some business school theory. This right here, this is a company called New Step out of Michigan, and they did exactly that. They took the plunge, found customers all over the globe, and their story is a perfect playbook for how it can be done.
All right, let's get into it. The world is your market. It really all starts with this one core idea. No matter how well you're doing right now, there's a much, much bigger game to be played. I mean, it sounds so obvious, right? The international market is bigger, but the effects of that are huge. Yeah, you get more sales, that's the big one, but it goes deeper. You can start getting better deals from suppliers because you're ordering more. You get what they call economies of scale. It's wild how many businesses just leave that opportunity on the table by only focusing on their home country.
Okay, so to really see how this works, let's bring back our heroes from Michigan. Let's dive into New Step's story, because it's a fantastic example of a company making that global leap.
So New Step got its start back in '97. A biomedical engineer named Dick Sams had this really great mission. He wanted to build exercise machines for people who had a tough time with traditional equipment, folks dealing with old age or obesity or MS. And they did great. They got really successful here in the US. But, around 2010, they kind of hit a ceiling. They knew that if they wanted to keep that growth going, they had to start looking outward.
And boom, there it is, the big question. The one that freezes so many businesses in their tracks. How on earth do you find customers in another country when you've literally never done it before? You got no network, no history. Where do you even start? It's a huge hurdle.
Because let's be real, that's just the first problem. The road to exporting is kind of like a minefield. It's full of pitfalls that can trip up anyone no matter how great their business is.
And what's really interesting is that for New Step, their biggest problem wasn't the stuff you'd normally think of, like logistics or customs. Nope, it was a cultural thing. See, here in the US, we're used to the idea of physical therapy and exercise for older people or those with disabilities. But in a lot of other places, that idea just didn't exist. So they couldn't just sell their machine. They had to sell the entire concept behind it first.
And that cultural blind spot New Step ran into? It's just one example on a long list of things that can go wrong. I mean, look at this. You can do poor market analysis, misunderstand who you're even competing against, forget to customize your product, all the way down to just totally underestimating how much time and money this is all going to take. It's a lot. It's no wonder people get scared off.
Okay, so that's the scary part. But, and this is the most important part of the whole story, you are not alone in this. You don't have to figure all this out by yourself. There's help out there. For New Step, that help came from a group called the U.S. Commercial Service. The easiest way to think of them is like a government-funded guide for American companies that want to export. They've got people on the ground all over the world, and their one and only job is to help businesses just like New Step win on the global stage. And we're not talking about some vague advice pamphlet. Look at the practical, hands-on stuff they did. They found and checked out potential partners for New Step in places like Brazil and China. They told them, hey, you need to be at this big trade show in Germany. And then they didn't just send them off. They gave them space at the show and even hooked them up with an interpreter. That's the kind of concrete help that actually moves the needle. So, they navigated the challenges, they got the right help. What happened next? Okay, this is where it gets really good. 25 in just 4 years. 4 years! New Step went from selling in 0 international markets to selling in 25 different countries. That is just explosive growth. And what did that mean for the bottom line? 15%. That's how much of their total sales came from exporting in that same time frame. That's not a rounding error. That's serious, game-changing revenue that literally didn't exist for them before. But here's a really cool side effect that they probably didn't even expect. It wasn't just about the money. By selling all over the world, they got this amazing window into what customers in other countries wanted. They'd see a trend in, say, Japan and realize, whoa, nobody's doing that back home yet. So exporting actually made their products for the US market better. It was a win-win. And just so you know, New Step isn't some one-off fluke. Let's look at another company, Marlin Steel.
Their CEO had a slightly different take. When the 2008 financial crisis crushed the U.S. economy, he saw exporting as a survival strategy, a way to protect his company from weak demand at home.
And, well, the numbers are pretty incredible. Before they went all in on exporting, it was about 5% of their business. After, a massive 40%. Going global didn't just save them during the recession, it made their business stronger than ever.
Okay, so we've seen these stories, we've seen the potential. What does this all mean for you? What's the big lesson we should all be taking away from this?
When you get right down to it, there are two ways to approach this. You can be reactive. You wait until your home market dries up, you get intimidated by the first problem you hit, and then you give up. Or you can be proactive. You're always looking for that next opportunity, and this is key, when you hit a wall, you go find help to get over it. That's what New Step and Marlin Steele did.
And that's it. That is the secret sauce. Success here is all about being proactive. It's about deciding you're going to go find those customers, not just sit around and hope they find you.
So let's leave it with this question for you. We've seen the pitfalls, for sure, but we've also seen the incredible payoff and the fact that there's real help available. So what's holding your business back from finding its next customer, wherever in the world they might be?